Starting it early. All right. Invite some people up. First off, I guess I can turn on my camera here. Camera. Bam. Let's get Marcus. Marcus, we might not talk about automation. Well, I mean after Anthony, but we'll see. By the way, depends on how much time we have. Cool. Make sure I have.
No worries at all. Let me know.
All right. Let's see. Anybody else? And we are live streaming to YouTube right now. Question?
Yeah, we are.
Perfect. All right. We'll give a couple minutes for people to join in. All right.
I don't mean to look scary. I'm literally sitting in my car because we're on holidays and my holiday home is too small for me to have a call this late. So it's just, it's dark here.
No, you're good.
I was wondering what you were doing lurking in the dark, dude.
No, dude, I'm sitting in my car. It's the only quiet place I could find around here. It's all good.
All right. Once we get to like 25 people, I think we'll just go ahead and start it. How's your husband? How was your like little vacations, Anthony?
Well, the last one I went to was not really a vacation. It was the Combative Summit down in Mississippi. So it was 3 8-hour days of training in weapons-based grappling, basically. So it's like how to grapple with people who have knives and guns, that kind of stuff, and how to deploy your own firearm in those situations. And some of it was offensive knife fighting as well. It was really fun.
Right.
It was pretty much like some of the best trainers in the world were there. It was amazing.
Awesome.
That's
All right.
what I do in my spare time, if anybody's wondering.
I go to a range and I play paintball. I used to play paintball really competitively, not so much anymore. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into Q. I guess everything that you've been up to in the automation side, because you've been dropping a lot of updates on the Q Chronos. You've been dropping a lot of updates on some of the other algorithms. You just dropped a thing called Q Zeus.
Zeus. Yeah.
And let's just jump into wherever you want to start.
Yeah, so we'll go with the Zeus, right? So what this was basically is the Q Chronos set and forget settings that I published several months ago. I'm not sure when it was. It was several months ago. I did like a video on them, and the Q Zeus is essentially, it has all of those settings built into it, and it's got the coefficient stuff removed from it. It's more designed for your new user who's coming in and is like, hey, I don't understand a lot of this stuff. Give me something that I can stick on the chart and will work. That's what it was designed for. And that's essentially what it is. So if you have Q Chronos, you have the foundation of what is Q Zeus. Now, the other things that are different to it is that we do run martingale on it, which again, you can do on Q Chronos yourself. So it does run martingale, and over the last 3 years, and I ran some backtest data on it, and then I pulled out the backtest data, I stuck it into my local computer, and I ran a bunch more code on it, and I was analyzing it. So in the last 3 years, it had, and I'll pull up the actual number right here, so I'm not just giving you random things. If I can find it. Yeah, here it is. We had, so the maximum losing trades in a row was 4, and it only hit that twice in the last 3 years. It had 3 losing trades in a row 11 times, 2 losing trades in a row 30 times, and this is over the last 3 years. So most of the time, if it has a losing trade, it's just 1, and then it bounces right back with a win. So the martingale.
What time frame?
Sorry, it's built for NQ 5 minute on regular candles is what it's built for. So the number of times that it actually goes like full tilt martingale was only a couple of times, and that's why this is not as risky as a lot of the other sort of martingale strats out there. Because if you have a strategy that runs at a 55% win rate, you can stick martingale on it and cover it up and make it look better than it is. That's honestly, that's what you see when you look at like the NERP and EFX algos, the Blue Edge algos. What they are lower win rate strategies. They are a positive win rate, so they're over 50%, but they're not very high, and you just stick martingale on it and cover it up. And when that happens, every now and then you get to like super martingale status where you get another loss with it and it wipes out your entire account, which is what happened in NERP. Like a month ago, maybe, it wiped out like 8 figures in capital from customers' accounts. Like it was disgusting what it did. And pretty much everybody who's running it, their entire account went to 0. So we have a couple safeguards in place. Number one, this one has a base win rate of 70%. So the martingale, like I said, has only reached level 4 twice in the last 3 years, which is great. And then the second safeguard is that we have a maximum number of contracts that it can go into martingale with. I did these tests, and it only ever hit 16 when you use one base contract. But you can actually just set it so 1 base contract, 2 maximum contracts, so it just goes into martingale once, and it smooths out the curve quite a bit. It's not quite as much, you don't get quite as much profit out of it, but it still smooths out a lot. So you can run this with just that one level of martingale, and it's a significant improvement. And you can do that with the regular Q Chronos as well. Just go in there and manually do it. Change your quantities as you go through. It works the same way. And then there's there's two other things to it. If you go into the settings, you'll see that it has something called the long boost, I believe is the first one. So in all of the testing that I've done in the stock market, I've found actually 3 conditions total that actually have a corollary factor to what happens in the markets. Most of the time, when you are doing data science in the stock markets, you're going to find things that have very, very little corollary value. There is almost nothing that actually correlates to, hey, this is doing something in the stock market. So you take variable A, right, the independent variable, and you have variable B, the dependent variable. You can almost never find a decent relationship between the two when you're in the stock market. I found 3 things so far that have a good relationship. One of them shows us that on particular days, we have a corollary factor that says we have a much greater chance of having a successful long trade. So what it does on that day is it will double down. That's what the long boost does, is it essentially martingales, but no matter what happened on the previous trade, right? So if you have a 1 basis for your quantity, right? You have it set to contracts 1, it'll double down and hit you contracts 2 for that day. It can make the curve a little wonky, so be careful when you use it. But it is there, it does work, it does increase overall profitability. The other one, which I like it a lot more, is the range boost. So I was saying I found 3 factors. There are 2 other ones. One of them has a Spearman and Pearson correlation of over 0.6, which means essentially, for those of you that don't speak data science, very, very highly correlated when it comes to the stock market. I've never found anything that is this strongly correlated. You can look at this variable up prior to the day. So you can look this up in pre-market, because my whole goal with it was to find things in pre-market that would predict something happening in that day. And I found 2 things for pre-market that will help determine the range of the day. That is how far you're going to move. One of them is built into this. The other one I will build in. It's going to take a little bit of time to get the math right. But this one is built in, and this was the stronger of the 2. This one was like 0.63 and 0.68 on Spearman and Pearson. So it was strongly correlated as far as the market's concerned. And when this comes into play, you see a really high chance of a further range during the day. So what it does is when it sees that, it puts into play a further profit target, and that's the 4th one down. I think it says range boost static profit multiplier. So it's a further multiplier that will dynamically kick into play, and it will take a profit a little bit further away. It's not a huge change. I think if you do that 3-year back test on NQ with one contract, the base one, I think, is 144,000 in profit. With the range boost on, it's like 177, I think. It's not a huge difference, but it's very little risk. You might lose 1 or 2 trades in there for a really nice gain on the back end. So it's just one of those little things that we're having there to enhance the amount of profit. And then, like I say, there is a 3rd variable that I'm working on. There's the math with it is a little wonky, so I got to figure it out, but it'll be built in at some point. So those are kind of the little tweaks that we're looking with QZeus. There was some questions about QZeus and kind of the way that we released it, and I wanted to address those while everybody is here really quick. What we're doing, I'm not going to tell you entirely where we're going with this, but essentially the ATS is evolving a little bit. It's not just software. It's going to come with a few more perks. You guys, if you've been watching, you've seen now we do like some done for you alerts, that sort of thing. We have stuff we've been working on in the background. We've been telling you guys for a long time. We're looking to do that like independent sort of charting platform. It's coming. I actually was diagramming some of the stuff out earlier today, and I'm running behind on it, but it is getting diagrammed out. We are looking at it. We've got somebody who's going to be working with us, coding with us to do it. So the ATS is really evolving, and the QZeus was just a part of the package that the ATS is going to turn into. So I wanted to address how that was structured really quick. So anyway, that's where we are. That's what we're doing. That's what Zeus is. Other than that, we do have, what time is it? 14:12. Okay, I'm good. Other than that, we do have a few other updates coming for things. There is an update coming for Q Chronos. It's not done yet. And then there is the Q Ice strategy, which is coming. People have been testing it. It's been great. The testing data I've gotten back is fantastic. The testing data that people have been giving me back, this was not intended to be massively profitable at this point. What I needed to do was see where I needed to put in the take profit targets on it and what kind of take profit targets I needed. I've gotten back some really good data, and I'm going to be able to modify it. And I think it's going to work really well. It's going to be a really powerful tool when you're expecting a large range on a day. And what I had previously talked about, finding those dependent variables that correlated on the range for the day, I'm going to get those built into the Elite bot, and we'll have those variables printing out. So a lot of people have asked me, hey, how do I figure out what the day is going to do? Is it going to trend, or is it going to range, or what's going to happen? And so far, up to this point, my response has essentially been, learn what happens to the stock markets, right? I wrote a book on it. It's 99 cents. Go read it. And you can learn like what's going to happen on the day. What kind of economic reports are we looking at? What backdrop do we have coming into the day? What's in the minds of market participants? And that's just kind of something you get with experience. It's something manual traders know. It's something people have known for a long time if you've been involved with this, but it does take experience. Now we're going to have more of this automated sort of objective manner to help determine what we're going to see on each day. And then what I'm hoping based on this is I can come with the Elite bot, and now we've kind of done this in the past. It's like, okay, you know, out of 5, what level of volatility are we going to have? With the new variables that I found, and this is just something I did recently, this is just within the last month, and I did a whole giant write-up on it. I had it reviewed by somebody else that I work with up here in the space, and it's I don't know how else to explain this, but it's something that simply you don't find in the stock market, this sort of correlation. So we can take this and we can come up with much stronger readings for something like the Elite bot to say. And then what we can do is we can take those and we can plug it into the ATS, and we give each one of those readings some sort of value, right? We still use the out of 5 maybe, but we can say, you know, the trend day out of 5, or, you know, like a ranging day out of 5 or whatever. And we can have it automatically inside of the ATS determine which alerts to take and which algorithms to trade. And then once we get into the platform built stuff, right? So I'm talking about we're going to build our own independent platform. Then we can have it changing its settings dynamically. Okay, on this day, we're going to do this. On this day, we're going to do this. And because now that we've found strategies which are consistently forward profitable in even a set and forget manner, and there's a couple of them that we have, now that we've found that and we have the basis of what we're doing, now we can refine it. Now we can turn it from, oh, wow, this thing makes money, to holy moly, this thing makes money, right? So we can really take this thing to the next level. And that's where I'm at right now, is refining those things. So There we go. Really long-winded way of saying that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, it's almost like the in-between software between like your trading algorithms and tradingview and actually to your broker. It's like a middleman to determine. It's really unique.
Well, when we're done, we're not going to need TradingView anymore. TradingView is out the door. It's going away.
Yep.
I can't stand TradingView. It has so many problems, and it's been great to prototype this stuff and to get us off the ground. We do now have the strategies which are profitable on TradingView, but we need to get rid of it. That's where we're going next.
Nice.
We just had a question there for you, Travis. Are you single?
No.
That's funny.
Anthony has my hand. I'm just kidding.
Oh boy. Yeah. See, that's actually for him. That right?
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
So I guess when it comes to QZeus, I have got some questions. Some people are like, "Oh, it looks amazing on a 15-second chart." Okay, you want to go over that you shouldn't use it probably on a 15-second chart?
Okay. The problem with doing that, now, I mean, hey, if you want to try it, be my guest, give it a shot. Maybe it'll work. But on a 15-second chart, you're looking back over such a short period of time that, of course, it might look great on one day, but it may not do anything right the rest of the time. There's just no real way to, unless you have this built in Python, you pulled up a pandas database, you're running real backtesting on it with like 1 second data. You can't backtest that very well, because I think TradingView goes back like 3 days or something with seconds data.
Yeah.
So
if you deep backtest, it gives you deep backtesting results, but it's not accurate.
Yeah. I don't test. Yeah, don't trust seconds level data on TradingView. Just don't. The lowest you're going to want to do is the minutes, right? So 1 minute, you can kind of test it. I looked around in different places with the 1 minute. I think there's some potential on some of the FX pairs for it to work. I'm going to have to play around with it for a little bit. There was potential on ES as well. But frankly, and I'm just going to be honest, if you have one ticker that makes money and you have one strategy that makes money, why are you trying to reinvent the wheel? I just gave you the settings. I just told you use it on NQ 5-minute regular candles. It makes money. Why are you messing around with it? I get that all the time.
Yeah. Especially at least for basis. I mean, people don't understand that it's like if you ran QZeus this year, from the beginning of this year to the end of this year, now you'd be up 60. I think it's $64,000, right? If you had that on 2 accounts, that's $100,000 a year.
Yeah, it's about right.
Leave it alone.
And the thing is, too, well, we could talk about this too, since this just happened today. I still got a bit of time. The blue sky thing. We'll talk about this. So a few days ago, if you guys weren't paying attention, they came out with some changes to their accounts, which weren't all that great. And everybody got upset about it. I think it was this big row in their Discord and everything.
Great.
So they raised profit targets. They changed the consistencies. They raised pricing. And they changed like some of the payout stuff. It just it wasn't the worst changes in the world, but what they had done is they had kind of advertised it as, hey, it's going to be really nice changes for people. So a lot of people waited to get the accounts, and then when it came around and the accounts were actually just more difficult, people got pissed off, and that pissed me off too. I didn't like it. So a bunch of people, of course, took them to task over it. And I went to their Discord and I was talking to them, and I got onto DMs with some of their leadership. And one of the things I suggested to them, which would solve a lot of the issue, keep all of the, because their issue was that people were getting into a live brokerage, because that's what they do, is they put you in a live, real life brokerage, which is where you should be as a trader. You shouldn't be in those sim accounts. The sim accounts are made for like the sim prop firms that let you play a casino. That's what those are for. Live brokerages from a prop firm like that is made for a real trader. But they were having people go in there, pass all the evals, get into the live account. They would put down $3,000 to to fund the trader, and then the person would just YOLO it to get their first payout, and then just to keep YOLOing freaking contracts and blow the account, and they were losing money on it. They would lose the $3,000. They wouldn't get paid back enough. So which is fair, because if they're losing that much money, they're not going to stay in business. So it's fair that they had to make changes. So they made changes to their live brokerage and the way they structured the payouts. I thought one of them was kind of weird, not getting paid out on a red day until they explained to me exactly why they did it. It was to discourage certain things that the YOLOs were doing. And I'm like, okay, it makes sense from a business perspective when you look at why they did it. But the big thing that they changed, one of the big things, was the profit target on the 200K. They changed it from 4,000 to 6,000 for the first stage, which wouldn't be that bad, except they left the total allowable contracts the same, where it was only 10 micros or 1 mini, which is pretty low for that kind of a profit target, especially if people are used to trailing drawdown accounts where you get a butt ton of contracts. So I talked to them and I specifically said, hey, to make up for this, can we double the amount of allowable contracts? Because I went through the back testing on QChronos and QZeus, and I found out specifically for our clients, because I went and I advocated for our clients with this. And it's like, hey, these are the numbers of contracts that we're going to need to be successful. And they did it. They did exactly what I asked for, which I thought was freaking amazing. It's like, okay, yeah, we are QuantVue. We do have a little bit of weight to throw around, but they listened to feedback from people, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
So the fact that they did that, the changes to the accounts aren't the worst thing in the world. The consistency lowered from 40 to 30, but with the higher profit target, it's actually larger amount per day. It's 1,800 instead of 1,500. So none of the rest of the changes really upset me. It makes sense from a business point of view. It was really just kind of the way they did it, and they fixed the biggest issue, which was the low amount of contracts. So in my opinion, they're right back up on top, and we're looking to kind of get a little bit of a partnership with them. There are no details on anything yet. It's in the works, but hopefully we can help people get these accounts a little bit more, especially ATS people who these are perfect for the ATS. So there we go.
Awesome. Does anybody have questions on automation? I think he has less than 5 minutes left with us.
There was one above. There was one by Drew. You go up. What would you say the average number of trades that the ad scalper takes per day that was featured on Marcus's QGrid Elite YouTube video from last month? The first question Drew wrote up here.
I mean, it depends on what time frame you're running it, right? If you run it from open to noon, like I suggest, I've seen it make anywhere from like 7 to 12 trades, somewhere in that range. A lot of people like to run things really long time frames, though, so that's honestly a time frame thing. And it's also Renko size as well. If you have smaller Renko sizes, you're going to get more movements in the charts. So it's a really variable question. Sorry, I don't really have a better answer. Let's see. Kevin says, plans on creating a single bundled strategy that reads the market day and plays accordingly. Yes, Kevin. And it is what the ATS is turning into. Because it's not going to be, we can't do it with just a strategy. I need access to an entire dedicated platform where I can use Python and access all economic data available out on the internet, pull it all in there and do stuff with it in order to properly do that. So yes, it's coming. It is going to be the ATS. And at that point, that's kind of where we're starting to cross that 5-figure barrier with the cost on the ATS. It's going to get crazy. We're looking.
Do you need ATS with Blue Sky or Alert Dragon better?
So Blue Sky's stage 1 and stage 2 are both SIMs. So you have to run them through ATS or another method that can run with a SIM. The stage 3, the actual live brokerage, I believe you can use API with it and it'll work with Alert Dragon. Golf Ball, is the future of the ATS to move away from chart VPS? No, it is not. we're going to be using Chart VPS servers to build out a dedicated environment for each client. So you'll either be using a VPS server or a dedicated server, either one, but they will be with Chart VPS. They've been just an amazing vendor with us. They have worked with us behind the scenes on so much stuff to help make this smooth for our clients, to help make my job easier. They're freaking amazing. So no, we're definitely going to work with them, and their CEO Marco is just awesome. So yeah, all the clients will have your own like kind of dedicated spaces. What we're looking for.
I'm pretty sure that was your alarm to go.
I have 2 minutes. Is there a list of the automated strategies? Yeah, if you look through the YouTube, there's training on all the strategies in there. They're also listed on the prop firm automation page. Like there's just like a list of them that you can see. When are you dropping the settings video for QZeus? By Asian Boy 64. My friend, it's already out. Go look through the ATS client chat channel. It's in there. Just scroll up, or maybe if somebody's nice enough, they'll drop you a link.
It's also very basic, so not a lot to go over.
Yeah, it's literally what I just told you guys. It's not it's not super complicated. Like I told you guys, I took settings out from QChronos. Like I removed stuff so that it's easier to use. So it's not crazy. Jort's cat. I don't know. Is that like the name of the cat? I don't know. I've talked to you a little bit. I don't know if that's the name of your cat or not. Does Chart VPS offer QuantVue clients kind of bulk pricing? You know, I wish they did. They do give a discount on each server. I could DM Marco and ask him. They might. We might be able to get something like that. Tell you what, I will email and ask if we can do something like that. Ralph says, will we still be able to run 5 instances of ATS? Yeah, don't worry. We'll still be able to do that for sure. And the also, when we break away from TradingView, it'll have built-in both API and OAuth, so you can access your accounts in different manners as well. But you will still have the ATS for prop firms that ban automation, so that it will be undetectable. So you'll have multiple ways to access your accounts, actually. It's really going to be cool. Oh, look at that. She linked me to a Wikipedia page on the cat. Interesting. Okay. I will read that later. I like cats. I'm weird. All right. Seeing a lot of great things with NQ, MNQ. Do we have a strategy that's geared towards ES? So I was saying that earlier, Zeus might have applications. QChronos as well may have applications on ES. But here's the honest truth about that, and I touched on this earlier. If you have one ticker that works, you have one time frame that works, you have a strategy that works, why change it? Why am I going to go out there and mess around and try to find other things? That's why and it's all done. It's part of the DFY. Here you go. Don't touch it. It's going to make you money. And then they'll text me 5 minutes later, hey, why aren't my alerts working? And I said, did you use the one that I set up? They says, no, I set up a totally different one. I said, why? The one I set up for you is going to make money. So that is that is kind of the truth about it. We have something that works, and it's NQ. NQ has the right volatility. It has the right volume. It's what we would like to trade. And to touch on that last one, and then I've got to go. More than one strategy, more than one ticker, as far as diversification goes, there is a place for that. There is something to say about that. I do agree with that. And it's something I'll have to get into in a larger conversation, because that goes back into data science and looking at the curves of multiple strategies and how they run and how it interacts in an overall balance in an overall account. So long story short, yes, that is a thing. It's not the biggest effect in the world, though. That makes sense. I do have to roll. I've got to pick up my kid. I got to do dad stuff. And then I need to go fight people later tonight. Actually, I need to go teach the class about fighting people. But I will catch you all later.
Have a good one, Anthony.
Later.
All right. We're going to continue with the call too here, y'all. So don't jump off. We're just going to go over kind of what we typically go over, the profits and wins. We're going to have Marcus go over a little bit about automation, and if and kind of just go from there. So if you guys want to stick around, you guys can. Let's go ahead and jump over to the main screen. I actually saw somebody DM me too about the Q Zeus, and they were like, "Hey, do you think Q Zeus with Martingale will work on Bitcoin on 500x leverage?" I'm like, I mean, that's probably a really fast way to blow up your accounts. Like, oh, like I couldn't imagine. Um, but yeah, don't do that. We have just people who are just killing it again with the QuantVue indicators. We have some Lionheart over here with $6,000, $7,000, and it looks like in a day. $240 here on this account on today. I mean, this is just from today. First day trading the with Q graded Moneyball up $1,000 on a 50K account. It looks like. I love I love seeing this because it's very cool to see that he only took 5 losing trades. I wish it showed how much he lost, but seeing somebody just being able to use our indicators for the first time and actually being profitable the first day is awesome. Jay's trading micros, just killing it, $1,500, having like almost $1,000 on average a day for almost 2 weeks in a row. um on that account. He has a couple different accounts here. These are express accounts, and so you can see he's probably going to be taking a nice sizable payout here if he hasn't. Yeah, he locks in $7,000 in payouts. Awesome. Congrats, Jay. 400 with a couple different accounts there. I mean, you guys can go in our Discord channel and look at the Profits and Wins channel yourself. I think it's like the #1 thing that should speak volumes to people instead of me just showing, my trades or showing, my P&Ls. It's like we have just a bunch of people in here showing their P&Ls. And also don't sleep on the people that are posting like only $200 a day in accounts, right? I tell people like $300 a day. Like if you get a My Funded Futures account, make $300 a day in 5 days after you're funded, right? So 6 days in total eval, right? Plus 5 days, and you're only during your live phase, you're only making $300 a day. You at the end of those 5 days take that your first payout. That's $1,200 on My Funded Futures. Now you're going to have a really really tight drawdown going into the next day, but it's like at least like you get the ball rolling of like now you're playing with profits. And that's always what I tell people is like get to the point where you're playing with profits. So seeing these only $200 a day, it's like yeah, it's only $200 a day, but it's like over 5 6 7 days. It's like, man, that adds up so quickly. That there's $1,000. I think this is just today, so that's only 1 day there. We have Ice just crushing it, making $1,000 almost across 20 accounts. So again, just go in here, and if you see somebody just crushing it, kind of ask them like, hey, like what how are you trading? And pick their brains a little bit. Seeing this is wild. $12,000 with only max drawdown of 2,000, right? Those are insane stats actually right there. So on 150K eval, I mean, even if it's an eval, that's still awesome to see people running up, right? And so we have some people in here just crushing it. Let's see who's in here right now, who's in the call. Let's see. Yeah, Marcus, if you want to talk about automation, and then we'll go then to NinjaTrader automation as well afterwards. So
Sure, happy to do so. If you're still sharing your screen, can you pull up? You were in the Wins channel where Fro Frosty posted his screenshot of his blue sky little experiment. Yep, that one. So this is a really cool example of, first of all, none of us listening to Anthony when he's been saying, guys, just use the set and forget. Just stop mucking around with things. Just use the set and forget. And I think, who was it? Ralphosaurus said, if I just listened to Anthony 6 months ago, I'd be flush with cash now. I think a lot of us felt that way, including myself, by the way. I do a lot of automation, and I've never paid that thing much attention because it looked so boring. So just a little reminder, listen to Anthony when he says stuff. It works. It just works. But then the cool thing I wanted to point out about automation is that people have taken this set and forget and modified it in a way that makes it hugely interesting. Specifically, Brando and Fro Frosty, they both came up with their own versions, and you can find the links to their charts on the Google Sheet. We share everything there. We can literally copy their charts. And I'm running Fro Frosty's setting, one of his 3 settings right now on a blue sky, and it just prints. It just works. I'm running it from 1800 to 1600, so 22 hours a day, which I never was a fan of. I never would have thought I'd do that. I used to stick to Anthony hours only, 0935 to 1200. But then this thing just runs 22 hours a day and it just works. So I think it's really, really cool to see that, first of all, we're starting to listen to Anthony. Cheers, Anthony. And second, we've got people messing around with the settings to a degree where it's not just crazy YOLO stuff, but it's actually sustainable, consistently profitable, really, really cool settings. So I'd encourage everybody, go in, look at Brando's settings, really, really cool setup. Look at Fro Frosty's settings. I'm running both of these right now. You'll find the data in the Google Sheet. So look at those. Those work. They just work. Very high profit rate. Very good algos based on Q Chronos, and I'm sure Q Zeus will do the exact same thing. So everybody can collaborate on the Google Sheet. I love that. It's really cool to see that more and more people are putting their stuff in there. Just go through there, look at the results, and pick whatever suits your style. Pick your algo, pick your style, pick how much you want to make, and literally just copy that chart, because those are real people using those strategies. Copy the charts. It doesn't get easier than that.
Yeah, I'm trying to find Brando's right now because I know he posted his P&L too. Was trying to scroll through and find his. His are wild as well. There's some of his. That's Brandon's certification. That's not Brando. But yeah, I mean, Lint's also using some interesting modified versions of Q Chronos as well. But he's using different settings for different times of the day, it seems like. And so his is a little bit more complicated. But I mean, dude's pulling $21,000 in a day. So it's like, yes, this is not listening to Anthony, but this is people just taking what Anthony's built and trying to experiment with them. I have experimented too with Anthony's stuff. Like I've ran stuff on second charts that did amazing one week, right? Just ran up like crazy, like 30 grand, and then like literally just gave it all away the very next week. So, that can happen. You're messing with something that you're probably, if you're going down to lower time frames, then you start to overfit, and then it's going to only work for a small period of time. Yeah, let's go over the NinjaTrader stuff too really quick. Let's just jump to that.
Yep. So I ran all of my Q grids around the clock last week, all week, just to try to get as much data as I could, to try to narrow down the best time frames to run each of the Q grid scripts. After I went through them through the weekend, I dropped probably about half of them. I kept the best performing, and kind of fine-tuned their time periods. So maybe we'll get some better results this week and keep fine-tuning on those. Found out that with running all week, all day long, the oil Q grid scripts did the best. They were profitable for the entire week, just running 100% of the time.
What box size? Could you give us a little idea of
Yep, I'm running Q Renko
settings?
on MCL, like 2 different types. So the first Q Renko is a 2510. So I gotta sit down and kind of come up with a good TradingView version of that. It's kind of interesting the differences between the two, but that one came in at about $500 for the week, even having kind of a terrible Friday. I mean, it was negative $1,000. So I'm Obviously, Friday is probably the worst day to trade automation, at least on all of the stuff that I've been doing. So if I took that off, it would be have even better profits for the week. The other one is a little bit quicker. It's 135 QRenco. And I have all of these in our NinjaTrader spreadsheet, which is on our forum, and I'll drop a link in the chat here in a little bit. So I dropped
You're running
MES.
QGrid for the most part?
Yeah, all of this stuff. The only ones that I ran all week were QGrid. I ran my other scripts just during the normal trading session like I normally do, but QGrid was the one that I wanted to run around the clock. So I kept 7 of those, and I'm gonna run them all week. Not 24 hours. I'll just run them through the day again. But see about those. And then I had a member shoot me a DM asking for a kind of a customized script, and I made it over the weekend because it was kind of easy to put together. But it takes entries. The direction is based on the direction of QGrid, and then the entry signal is the Moneyball alert, and then the exit is on the HA2 bars, so the Heikinashi bars from QGrid. So whenever it changes, whenever those Heikinashi bars change directions, it exits. I gotta fine tune the the size boxes that I'm going to use. I was using the equivalent of a TradingView size 2 today, so I'm going to double that for tomorrow. But that one kind of showed a little bit of promise. So if there are members out there that want kind of a customized kind of NinjaTrader strategy, I will do some of those. I'm not going to take all of them because I just don't have time, because I do have a full-time job. But it was just interesting. I thought I wanted to share that.
Yeah, the oil thing's really interesting using the Q grid. I've kind of just pulled it up on a 2 box or 0.2 box Rinko on TradingView. Very interesting. You might have to go down. Probably not. I mean, you wouldn't run on a 0.2. You'd have to run on like a 0.02, probably.
Yeah,
I would
the
think
the
so.
quicker Q grid did quite a bit better than the slower. I try to run 2 different types of
Interesting.
Q grids on all of mine.
What was the average winning trade or the average trade? Do you know roughly?
I'd have to go back and look. I just
Interesting.
on my spreadsheet I just keep the end of day, but I can go back and pull those.
And what hours were you running?
For those, it was all day, all night, all day. So 6 p.m. to 4:30.
Interesting.
I did
I'd be
have
curious too on starting it just during London too. I don't typically, I really don't like sometimes how it trades during Asian session in the past. But yeah, I mean, there are definitely, I mean, that's definitely a big move during Asian right there. I'm looking at it right now. It's like, yeah, I guess you could leave it on Asian during Asian session.
5 a.m. Eastern was typically the time that it took its best entries.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. I mean, I mean, there might be something there with the Q grid, especially on oil. Um, that may be, you kind of piqued my interest. I'm going to look at it a little bit, see, kind of see what I think. What was the least profitable time period? I'm going to assume like noon.
Yeah, typically the noon time period is not very good. Right around 9 o'clock for most of the Q grids, it doesn't do very well just because of how fast it moves. It gets kind of choppy in there, and it has a hard time keeping up with it sometimes. Um,
Hmm.
Obviously, don't trade during news. Don't have these on, but for the most part, the mornings are the best time. Like I run mine from 10 to noon, and then try to turn it back on in the afternoon is what I'm doing this week. So
Hmm. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Who knows? I might try to forward test something as well to put some more data on it. Um, let's I guess answer questions and just wrap up the call. Oh, anything that's good on gold that makes moves. Kevin, I have been testing gold a lot, and I actually thought I had something with gold, with QGrid or QSumo. And last week, the past 2 days, it has not done well. So I was like, I'm still forward testing data on gold. Um, I I I find a lot, at least I've had some success with gold, manually trading it uh, during really during London session for the most part. Sometimes during Asia session as well. Um, and yeah, so you know, gold's an interesting, definitely an interesting asset. It's something. It's definitely if I was trading at night, I would trade gold over NQ or ES just personally, just because I think that it's easier to read. It tends to like to follow the trend, during those hours, right? So if there's some moving averages that you can put on, and it's like you're going to come tap a moving average, and if it starts to push below, then it's like you can take a pretty tight stop trade, and potentially have like a good nice like 1 to 2 risk to reward trading gold at night. And so I've been playing around with some different settings, trying to find something to work on gold overnight. But it's I'm still something I'm working on. um let's see, you guys are looking at crude. In my weekly setup. Yeah. Yeah, crude is interesting. So, uh, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, NQs are bread and butter. I mean, most people on here is bread and butter. And a lot of the algorithms that is built around QuantVue, is all based and meant to trade NQ, right? If it's slow sometimes getting profits, right? Especially if you're using automation, right? But it's like the big picture is, if you have a prop firm that allows automation and you don't have enough for a personal account, right? You got, say, a static growth 200K account, right? I mean, Q Chronos trading 2 contracts gets you roughly about $100,000, like in the back testing of that. I mean, it gets you like, well, I don't know actually off the top of my head. I'm thinking Q Zeus, but it was like Q Zeus was like $64,000 so far this year. With 1 contract. So it's 2 contracts. That's 100K a year. Set it and forget it. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. Right. You can then go and try trading on your own too, right? And then once it gets a certain profit target, like say like 10, 20,000, then everything past that, then start taking out your profits on it, every month, and just let it ride. So that's kind of, I really, I'm huge, I know it's kind of a pricey thing to get into automation, right? But I do encourage people too, because if it can give you a baseline that allows you to then go and try to manually trade yourself, but it's like at least you have like some type of baseline. So I really encourage people to try. Let's go ahead. It says that 100K was the starting balance of one NQ contract. That 100K was with a what starting balance? Well, I I think you would have to do the 200,000. You would have to see what the max drawdown would be, right? So if I go back to, um, mm, let me, I'm gonna switch it to my face really quick so I can pull up an NQ chart. Um, see NQ chart. Um, Here I'll pull up QZ so we can see what the balance you would need to kind of start, getting into uh that area. So, um, I don't know if I have all the settings correct either here, but if we go into QZeus, right, and I'm going to set it for conservative for this example. Actually, you know what? Let me just do the default settings. That way I don't get yelled at. Let's do the default settings. Okay. So this is pure default settings, right? And we are going to allow it to just kind of trade like this, right? Let's see. So this will go up to 16. So this is meant to be traded on a static account. We'll actually just start it at the beginning of this year. I think it should do about $60,000, right? So yeah, about $56,000 so far this year. And that actually to include today. So it's about $64,000, 60 in that. Okay, $56,000. So my whole idea with this would be like, okay, yes, this is meant to run on 200K static account, right? If you were to then get at least say 2 accounts, or you could, I know on Blue Sky they don't allow you to have two 200K accounts, so you could do it from
They do.
50
They do.
They do now.
Yeah, I had to parallel unless they changed it, but I had to.
Multiple. I know. Well, evals. I know you're allowed to have two evals. Yeah, you can have 2 accounts. So if you got two 200K accounts running Q Zeus, this is 100,000 roughly. I'm not going. I can't promise it's $100,000 a year, but roughly this is probably going to come out to just over $100,000 a year if you just leave it alone. Don't touch it. Um, and there's a certain level of like where I would start to then take my profits, right? So you can see that the trailing max drawdown right here is 7,000, right? So what I would be doing is I like to double the max drawdown a lot of times, whatever it is, right? So it's 7,000 here. So I'd be looking for, let's just say roughly about $15,000, right? So once this account would be up over $15,000, everything past that, every single month, I'm going to withdraw, right? So you might not take a withdrawal from this account for the first 2 months, right? But then every single month you're taking out a withdrawal, and then you have this nice like little buffer zone cushion there sitting there. That would be the idea. That's kind of how I would run it. And yeah, so that would be the idea. I mean, that would give you people that gives people like a really solid baseline of like making, what is this? 10 divided by 10, $5,000. So that's almost about $10,000 a month baseline income. Like that's a really good solid foundation for you to then continue trading maybe on other platforms and try manual trading. Or you don't want to try manual trading, you could just kind of copy the Q Zeus trades or your Q Chronos trades, So yeah. Um, very awesome.
Hey Travis, we had a question before. We
Mhm.
missed out on from Crypto Botter, fellow Swiss dude, by the way. He says, "Sorry, pretty new to the ATS and copy trade. Is there no risk of being abused because of multiple people get in the same trades?"
Okay, so on not okay, so it's like this gets into like how many well, there's two questions here. I guess if you're meaning abuse from like a prop firm perspective of catching people taking the same trades, potentially, right? But this goes into, you know, prop firms that allow automation versus prop firms that don't allow automation, right? I mean, if you are breaking, if we haven't have ran into this issue yet with Apex. We haven't into this issue any of the big prop firms, right? That being said, I do know that like Apex, for example, is building auto detection stuff, right? And yeah, if they see, you know, 20 traders taking the same exact trades at the same exact second, on their system and are getting in the top like 100 traders, that could raise red flags for sure with Apex, right? So, but then you have Blue Sky where they're very open. They allow automation. You have no issues with there, right? Elite Funded Trader also allows automation unless they change something. So I mean that gets you into, you can have seven seven accounts I think now, because I think you can have 5 on Elite. So I mean that gets you 7 accounts into automation. And then, eventually you hopefully will take that profit and then do automation on your own personal account is the whole kind of idea. The risk, let's see, and then is there no risk in abusing multiple people to get in the same trade? Now, like, I mean, how many contracts do people have to take at the same time to start to affect the market? This is not something that we are worried about yet, right? We have not seen this issue. this is kind of like one of those things where it's like you just push it until it becomes an issue, right?
When do you think that would be an issue though? Because I've had that question before. Like, how many of us would have to run QZeus with, say, 1 MQ each for that to actually become an issue?
During the actual live market, I don't know. I mean, this gets into like like if you pull up the DOM, right, or like a DOM or a book that where you can see all the orders, right? Like if you go in like MotorWave, for example, I can see the block sizes, right? So I can see, okay, hey, this is a trader that's putting in 10 contracts at a time. This trader's putting one contract, one contract, one contract, one contract. Like I can see all that data, right? And so sometimes I know this is, for example, like you don't put in 50 contracts, right? Because there are algorithms out there that will stop hunt those, right? So if you go in heavy 50 contracts or 100 contracts, right? To my knowledge, and see, this is kind of getting into like territory where it's like I don't deal with this yet, but if you're putting in 50 contracts at a time, right, and they someone or some algorithm might try to stop hunt that, right, basically trade the option, push the price down very quickly, right, versus if that same trader would just take 10 contracts, 10 contracts, 10 contracts, right? And so it would depend. Like you could have, if one person, for example, was using our software and then going and trading 100 contracts at a time, right? That would affect people maybe um trying to push that person's position, right? Like I mean, there's things that I don't know at that level, right? And so, I think I honestly think like it's not an issue until we're in the hundreds of contracts at a time. And then maybe even, it depends on the asset too. Like for example, if like people are trading like I don't know, uh try to think of something like copper, right? Copper doesn't have very much volume, so it's like, yeah, like you could affect that a lot easier, or if you're trading during Asian hours, right? A lot of traders that I know that have big accounts, they trade Asian hours so they can bully the market, right? Um, so yeah, it depends on the time of day, but I don't think there's any issue with that until much later. It's not something I don't think we have to worry about it until it becomes something we have to worry about. And it would be pretty obvious because then, certain strategies just aren't going to work. But there are certain things that just, work too. It's like there's certain levels. This is why there's certain, you know, pivot levels, right? Or certain things that are just respected and are held by other institutions, right? So, it's kind of it's a mixed bag. It's a hard question to answer. There's not really a straightforward answer. It's not something that I'd be concerned with until we get into maybe 500 plus users or 1,000 users. Then it might be an issue. But until then, it's like not something I would worry about.
And by then, we'll just ask Anthony to develop a little something that splits our trades like 1 second later, 5 seconds later, and we'll be fine again.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Anthony probably has a better idea than I do when it comes to that. Yeah. But like even if like I switch over to let's see NQ 5 minute maybe will that show? Yeah. So like I mean like you can see like these levels here, right? This orange level and this blue level going into today, right? You can see how like that's respected. This yellow line here was respected for a large majority of the day, right? I mean these are levels that were our pre-market levels, right? That I took from the Asian session, and these are levels that I took from London session, right? And drew on my chart, right? It's like if you're taking a long right here off of this level, right there, there's so much buying power where it doesn't like I don't think there's any amount of contracts with that. I to an extent, right? But it's like if your algo is going long, it's like you're trading with other institutions that have that same level mark then, so that's a little bit different. um that's why it's like I don't think it matters as much if you're in good positions that other institutions and algos uh support as well. So kind of a weird, tricky question answer. Anything good? Let's see. Anything else? I would love to trade crypto too. So I mean, crypto botter. Like I've been dabbling in crypto again just for the fun of it. Yeah, I don't trade corn. Whoever said that, corn email. Let's see. Any last questions? Tusi, am I forgetting anything before I end the call? Should be all good. All right, yeah. All this hate for corn and soybeans. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They don't do anything. They don't go nowhere. Like you'll be sitting on trade for 2 hours just to break even on your trading fees. It's like move, do something. You're driving. Crypto 150 Rinko. All right, yeah, cool. Cows, cattle, yeah. All right, well, I probably will hang out a little bit later tonight and in the voice chat tonight. Maybe while I'm doing some back testing on. So if you guys see me in there, feel free to jump in and ask questions or whatever. I'll just be in there hanging out a little bit later tonight. So that's it for this video. Make sure you guys like, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, and yeah, at me if you have questions. Peace.